there and welcome back to our channel. On this channel, we discuss mental health with a special focus on how it affects us as a DID system. My name is Shell and I am the host of the system. And I thought that since it's been a while since we filmed, and I've tried to film a couple of times over the past couple of weeks and have not liked the way that it has come out, maybe I need to get comfortable with filming again. So I thought we'd just talk about what's been going on for the past couple of months with our system. So we, in the past, have typically been a very switchy system. We usually switch multiple times a day. And even though I'm the host, I am the one that's out the most often, but I do switch with the others pretty frequently. Now for the past couple of months, that has changed. I am out a lot more than I used to be. And after talking with our therapist about it, we realized that it's probably just that my skills as the host were needed more. And so because of the circumstances of what we were dealing with in our lives, it made more sense for me to be out more frequently. And so I'm exhausted. It's hard with DID because I feel like no matter what, having DID is tiring. Switching is exhausting. Not switching is exhausting. There's really no ideal for that. But it's a different type of exhaustion. Switching is more like a kind of mental drain, so that by the end of the day, it feels like my brain has gone through the Olympics, and I guess it kind of has. When it's from not switching as frequently, the exhaustion is a lot more physical, and it's a lot more emotional, I think. So it's not just it's not just my brain being, oh, we're tired because we've been doing a lot today. It's no, I am tired because I haven't had a break. And that is something that I had to start getting used to. My chronic fatigue was really bad. It's still not great. And then on top of that, our son has insomnia. And when he doesn't sleep well, it means we don't sleep well. So, there's the exhaustion that comes from that too. So that's the biggest thing that we've been dealing with. I know we always talk about how tired we are, but it's been a different type of fatigue the past couple of months. Some of the stressors that we were dealing with have started to diminish, and so we are starting to switch more frequently again. With that more switching has come more alters. Sorry, got a phone call. But as I was saying, with the switching more, we have learned about more alters. And I don't know if that is because of the stress that we were dealing with. I don't know if it's just that the system now thinks that I'm at a point where I can handle learning about more alters, and or if it's the fact that we are in October. And October tends to be a pretty rough month for the system. And so last year during October, the heaviness of the month led to us splitting a number of times. And this month, it doesn't seem to be affecting me personally as heavily. But I think that's because there's been so many other things going on in my everyday life that I don't have time to focus on past traumas. But it is leaving the system in a little bit of an upheaval. Things feel a little chaotic and disorganized. And we seem to have a lot more alters coming and going. We learned, I have to sift through and make sure that I'm allowed to talk about the people I'm talking about. We have a new alter that I don't remember if she had made herself aware the last time we did a video. But Natasha is an alter who has, I'm not even entirely sure how long she's been in the system, but has been in the system at least through a good part of our adulthood. And she was a part that wasn't very differentiated for me. We're very similar, and so we didn't realize that we were separate parts. she always described herself as being shell, but not shell. And that's like how it kind of felt. It was, and I think it was either when she was fronting or when she was influencing the front. Those were the moments where I felt like maybe I might be getting hypomanic when, and then it wouldn't be hypomania, because for it to be hypomania, it has to last at least 4 days, and it would last like an evening, and then the next morning I'd be fine. And I think that maybe Natasha was the alter that was causing that, because she's very similar to me, but she's a lot peppier. She doesn't deal with the effects of our depression, and so she has just a lot more energy, and so it can feel like me but amped up. And so something happened that she began to realize that she really was a different alter. She became a lot more differentiated, started realizing who she was, what her role in the system is. She doesn't have like a title. She doesn't fit into like any of the stereotypical roles for DID, but like basically where she belongs in the system and what she does, and really like determining her name. And it's really funny how she came up with her name, because she kept calling herself not Shell, and then when it was like, okay, I need to come up with a name, she was like, oh, it kind of sounds like Natasha. So that's how she came with Natasha. Another one who showed up, and he actually ended up making a reel on our Instagram, is Colin, who I found out has been around since middle school, and he is a teenager. But I can't remember if he's like 15 or 16, something around there. But even though he's a teenager, he's been in the system for a long time, and he seems to know a lot about the system. And he describes himself as more of a background alter. And that seems to be something that's happening, is more background alters are starting to front. And then he only fronted for like a day. Natasha has been more frequently in and out of the front. We also had an alter front that doesn't have a name. We don't know a lot about her, only that she feels like she's in her 20s. And at first she thought maybe she was an aged up version of one of our teen alters, but then realized that she wasn't, that she didn't feel like that she was the same alter. So we still don't know a whole lot about her. She's fronted a couple of times. When she fronted and we realized that there was like a difference, we were in the shower, and she kind of got lost in the shower and couldn't remember where our towels were in regards to where the shower is. And I've been racking my brain over when the towels would have been where she went, and I realized recently that like it's actually in our old apartment that's where the towels would have been. And so she must have fronted at some point during our when we were in our old apartment. Other than that, the only other one would be in our childhood home, but I don't think she's been in the system long enough for that to be the case. So we're still trying to figure things out with her. And then we had another teenager front who all we know about her is that she's a teenager and she's a tomboy. And she fronted for like half a day, and then peaced out. We'll see if any of these alters front again. I don't know. My brain tends to do this thing where it's like, oh, they front and it's just like we just want to make you aware that this person exists, and then they disappear again. And so when I talk about how large our system is, it's not everybody in the system fronts regularly, but these are the alters that I know about. And again, these are more alters that I'm learning about, and every time that happens I get a little disgruntled, because I'm like, surely we have enough alters, surely we don't need to be a system that's this big. And it always comes with the knowledge that like even as I'm learning about these alters, there's still so much more about the system that I don't know about yet. And it's really disconcerting, because it's like, what more is there to know? What more is there to learn? How many of us are there? I don't have those answers, and so I'm kind of just taking it as it comes. But yeah, that's what's been going on with us. A lot of internal changes happening, some life stressors that we've been dealing with. Going into October, this tends to be a rough month for us, like I mentioned. It has a lot of traumativersaries in it, and historically in the past has not been great for us, but we are doing okay. And I think that the system's going to do whatever the system is going to do, that it thinks it needs to do to get us through the month. But as of right now, not too affected, not too badly. We did have a therapy session that to talk about one of the traumas of October, and we did somatic processing for the first time while talking about these things, and it was able to trigger our 5-year-old into the front for therapy, and it's the first time any of our littles have ever fronted during therapy. And she was able to talk to the therapist and highlighted that there's a lot of work that I need to do. If you've been following our journey, then you know that I have a hard time with the littles. I have a hard time letting them front. I have a hard time communicating with them. A lot of times when they front, I don't have the memory of what they did while they were out, whereas with other alters, like, I will know what they did when they were in the front. With the littles, I tend to get amnesia for whatever it was that they did. So I don't have a lot of communication with the littles. And I do tend to, I guess, try to pretend that they aren't there, because for some reason the littles give me more embarrassment than the older alters do. And I think it's just because there's that idea of, like, if they front, I'm going to be a grown woman who's almost 40 acting like a 5-year-old or acting like an 8-year-old. And that is really embarrassing to me. And I need to learn to get over that embarrassment and figure out how to create a safe space for them to be able to come out and be themselves, because it sounds like that's really what they're lacking, is that they don't get a chance to be them, and they don't get a chance to be friends with our friends. Just, it's something that we have to work on as a system, and I definitely need to work on as a host. If you are a host who has a hard time letting their littles front, or has a hard time acknowledging their littles, I would love to know any suggestions that you may have, what things that you might do to create a safe space for your littles to let them front. And maybe, I think one of the biggest fears is, like, what do you use to make sure that when they're done, an adult alter will be triggered out and be able to take care of things? Because I think, like, that's what could maybe make things more possible to happen, is if I know, like, if we can give them a set time for how long they're out, and then I know that there'll be something that I can use to trigger an adult alter back into the body so that they can continue to do the things we need to do as a grown person. So yeah, if you have any advice for that, leave them below in the comments. Otherwise, let us know how you're doing. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening to us. I know this was a pretty informal video and kind of wandering and meandering and not really straightforward. So if you stuck around this long, thanks for listening. And until next time, take care and stay well.